And we are back again. Of course, for people who are, you know, like, well, watching this over YouTube, this for them is like, you know, a fraction of a second. For people who are watching us right now, live with us right now, probably it was like 10 minutes. So let's, you know, follow along and get started. So we covered wedging, we covered splitting polygons, we covered how to add details by inserting edge loops on offsetting edge loops to using offsetting edges using edge loop offset edge loop tool. We know how to merge vertices. Merge edges is gonna work in the same way. Okay, so basically you can select two edges and then you can say merge. Poking a face, we saw how this happening. Extracting faces in order to separate two objects from each other. What else? There's also one more feature that could be quite fascinating for you guys. And let me show what I'm talking about here. So let me first delete these two faces. Okay, and right click and choose object mode. Okay, so right now I have these like empty hole. There is a feature, there's a very nice tool in Maya called bridge, which is very interesting. If you right click and choose an edge, so you select one edge, you select the other end of an edge. By the way, this bridge tool works only with the same polygonal object. Okay, so both of them has to be one. It cannot happen to be, you cannot bridge from here to there because both of them are separate objects. But I'm going to show you another way how to overcome that in a second. But let me show you what are they first. So if you look here at the edit mesh, and we have bridge somewhere, do we? No, mesh. Actually, I'm used to you know, keyboard shortcut key. Ah, here's the bridge. I found it. It's in the edit mesh. And please do not click on bridge right away. Just choose the option box. And I will go here in the edit and reset tool because I was toying with it a little bit. So basically, when you look at it, once I select two edges, so one edge selected, shift select the other one. If you say bridge type linear path, if I set apply, it will immediately create for me a bridge. Okay. From this part to this part, so it will extrude equally like the edges in the several times until it reaches the other edge. Okay, now please try to understand as well that this one is not merged, so you are still having this weird thing going like so. So let me show you. So it is not actually merged with here, but in fact the end of the bridge is actually merged with the actual object. So this is one thing for sure. Okay, this for the bridging linear way. Of course, you can increase the subdivisions. Now, if you look over here, let me just leave this here. If you look on this side, this is our history. And once this history starts to increase, your memory starts to be filled up with a lot of these, and then Maya gets slower and slower. Of course, you have to delete history every time, but sometime you would like to edit the history. So we're gonna see that in a second once we go to the NURB surfaces. So if I go here to poly bridge edge, so this one, here you can actually increase the subdivision. So I select the subdivision, and in here just middle mouse click and drag. And of course you can edit subdivisions. Now I get the very, very weirdo kind of an effect for some certain reason, which I don't know why. Probably the normals of my faces are having a problem. Let me check the normals. So file, display, polygons, face normals. Let me go here into the object mode. Oh, again, sorry. Display, polygons, face normals. Well, it actually displays them nice. Well, for some certain reason, I get a very, very weird effect. Does anybody have the same thing? Anybody who's following? Does anybody try this? Somebody have any problems? Or is it just me? Well, apparently I have something wrong. Probably I forgot a step or two. Probably there's something wrong here. But anyway, okay, let me Control Z that. So I'm gonna like decrease the size of the amount of, I don't know, faces over here for now. And later I will try to debug that problem because it's quite weird. Okay, so I will undo even until the end. So undo. Okay, I will shift click as well on the I will shift click and select those two, but this time I will choose a smooth path, or path actually, and hit apply. And as you can see here, I got a much smoother path, and it looks like a bridge, in fact, when you look at it on the sideways actually. So basically we got a very interesting curved bridge. Let me undo that, and if you choose the smooth path plus the curve and hit apply, now I don't get only the curvature, but I get as well the, I don't get the, I mean the curvature only, but I get as well the path. And if I go here and increase the subdivisions, which I hope it will not go to a weird effect, it actually went. Well, somehow it's really weird in my case. I don't know why. 2, 3. Let me see here. Yeah, I still have this weird effect. Okay, I will definitely debug that later. Probably I'm missing something, or I'm not seeing something right now while recording, which is quite embarrassing right now. But you guys get the idea. So basically, if I go here to the object mode, let me show you what is the cool part about this. If I shift click the object itself, just the polygon object, so shift click it, whoops, so select, okay, right now I selected actually the curve alone. Right click on the curve and choose control vertex, and I will tell you later what control vertices are. But basically when you select a vertex, you can in fact modify how the bridge looks like. So basically, there you go, something like that. So right now I destroyed like this basic curvature. So there you go, this is the basic idea. Okay, so this is the basic idea behind the bridging. Let me go to display, polygons, and face normals. Alright, let me delete that object. Let me delete the other object. Okay, so basically this is, I believe this is all what I wanted to show you for now for the polygonal objects basics. So we covered a lot of tools here that probably most of you could forgot it, or you could probably have to practice a little bit with them, but it's not a problem. Trust me, it's going to be okay. You just have to rewatch the video and play with these tools. Okay. But we're gonna for sure revisit them again once we start modeling our cars here, which is gonna be our serious modeling task. There's one more kind of object that I would like to show you, which a new kind of geometry. It's not polygonal anymore. It's called the NURBS surfaces, which are non-uniform rational B-splines. Okay, this is the NURBS. This is the actually so. Hang on a second, so let me start Notepad. So NURB equals to non-uniform rational B-spline. Okay, this is how it's actually spelled. Alright, and the basic idea, let me show you what I'm talking about here. If you go to curves, well, you know what, let me leave it as surfaces or polygons. If you go here to create, you have two types of curves over here. Of course, okay, we have 3 or 4, but I wanted to there are two ones which, or 3 of those are different from each other. Bezier curve tool is for the guy who's named actually Bezier. He's working at Renault company, who made actually this kind of curve. People in the early days of graphics in the late 1970s, in the mid 1970s and 1980s, they had a problem with creating curves on a computer. They cannot actually, like, nobody can create a free-form curve. In math, usually you have to write a function and then you plot a curve out of it, okay? But if somebody gave you a curve that you have to draw on a computer, right now you have to find the function for that curve, right? You have to draw a certain curve, but it has to be rendered on the screen, so you have to find a function for it and render it correctly. Now, in order to do that, there's a guy who's named George Chaikin. He made the Chaikin curve, if you will, in 1974 in his lecture in the University of Utah in America. And he represented the curves in a very, very interesting way. If I grab the curve tool, the CV curve tool, so let me go, sorry, let me hit the backspace on this one. I will go over here and choose whatever side I like. I will choose the front. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So basically, if I click on a point, just click, left mouse button click, you'll position a point, okay? This is a square. As you can see here, this looks like a U. This is a normal vertex. And once I place the fourth, I get a curve is forming for me, okay? Now, of course, for you, you see this not a curve. You see this like more like jagged lines, right? Like edge lines. And this is how actually the algorithm works. As you can see here, you constructed only 4-side polygons, and then you got out of it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? You can add even more. And once the closer you get, the more you add, and the closer they are, the better curve you get. Okay? Now, of course, excuse me. Now, I could actually, probably I'll describe this I'll describe this algorithm probably later during a class about OpenGL, how it works. And it's really easy. It's like a 6th grader. You can describe it to any 6th grader guy. I mean, your brother, little brother in the school, or little sister in the school, you can describe them how the Chaikin curves look like or how it works. And of course, once you make such a curve, you just hit enter to complete the curve. And as you can see here, I got a very nice smooth curve. Okay, so this is based on George Chaikin algorithm. Probably not. Probably they are an enhanced version of it. If you right click, in George Chaikin actually described in his algorithm that for every curve you have something which is called a control point. Some people call it the Chaikin points. Okay, so some people call it like that, some other people call it like that, but mine here calls it the control vertices or control points. So it is actually control vertex, okay, in Maya. But I mean, control point, control vertex will not make that very big difference. So this is basically it. Basically, this is the basic thing about it. And one thing you also notice, that the points are not positioned on the curve. The points are always away from the curve. Of course, because how the algorithm works. I'm gonna describe it for sure once we get to once we get to the OpenGL lessons. Okay, you will not do it. If you would like to implement it, it's easy. Trust me. It's just a small recursion function that will just simply keep drawing. You know, splitting the lines and draw, splitting the lines and draw, and so on. But basically, this is a very important note that you have to understand, that the curves, the points are not always on the curve. Okay, probably they are close here, but once you start stretching them, they're not on the curve. If I right click and go to object mode and slide this away, if I go here and say create an EP curve tool, which is edit point curve tool. Now the difference between both of those guys, that actually the points are happening to be on the curve. Okay, as you can see here, all my points are on the curve. Now once I finish, I just simply hit enter, And when I right click, choose control vertex, I mean, when I was drawing the, yeah, of course it looks like that, but when I was drawing the curve, the points were actually on the curve, which completely different workflow when you were trying to create this one. Okay, so this is the very major big difference between those two. Okay, so apparently it just converts to that way. Now let me go right click and go to object mode and slide this somewhere up. If I go here and say create and Bezier curve, now Bezier curve is very interesting curve. You get something which is called tangents. Okay, now tangents are this is actually very interesting, because right now you can actually describe the slope of a line, and based on the slope of the line you can actually describe a curve, which is quite handy. Now of course I have finished editing, so I hit enter. Right now I have a curve. So if I control vertex, I can start right now modifying these tangents, as you can see here. Okay. By the way, all the NURB surfaces are created out of curves. Okay, so I showed you 3 of them. All the NURB surfaces are created out of curves. So I'll select all these curves, delete them. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Spacebar over there. And let me show you a surface. So let me grab the sphere, shift, left mouse button click, and here's a sphere. Now the coolest thing about it is that these curvatures, they are not polygons, by the way, they are curves. And they are actually much more beautiful and smoother than the polygons, okay, in terms of display. Now, of course, there are levels of details for this guy. So if there's 2, 3, 1, okay, so this is the preview. Now, by the way, this is the preview. It's made for you just, I mean, to see how primitive it is. This is the first thing. A second thing is that sometimes it happens to be you have a lot of NURBs and polygonal and sub-Ds in your scene. That, for example, sometimes, okay, let me decrease the amount of perfectness or amount of polygons that's shown to me by just pressing the 1 key, just, you know, like to keep the scene less polygons, and you get the scene faster to navigate, like so. But if you actually render the thing, it's still a sphere, and you can see here it's a perfect sphere. If I let me try to scale this up, and let me try to increase the size of the render to something like HD 720p. There you go. Close and render. Okay, so this is basically a sphere. Okay, now let me show you here a polygonal sphere. So this is one, there's another one. Okay, so let me, and as you can see here, the polygonal sphere is much more jagged than this one. Of course, I haven't modified this one to make it even much more perfect, but it's quite visible, the difference between those two, even in the shading here. Okay, so let me close this one, and let me delete the polygonal sphere. And 2 and 3, so basically this is it. Now, if you right click, you have something which is called control vertex. And you can in fact select a control vertex and you start moving it. And you will start moving it, you get some sort of, like, everything goes smoothly with you. This is because you are modifying a curve. Okay? It's not because you are modifying control, you are actually modifying how the curve looks like. And of course, based on that, you get these weird kind of effects. At least you call it weird, but they are sometimes good in terms of how you utilize them and use them. I'm just simply playing here, so right now this is another way of modifying a NURBS surface. Okay, so right now it's not a sphere anymore, it's something like object mode. Right now it's something like squash thing. So a hull, in other hand, is just showing you how how the cage of the NURBS actually look like. Okay, surface points. This is another thing, but I'm not gonna actually talk very much about it because it's going to be another lesson, another topic, and I'm not going to cover right now the NURBS in details, okay? But just keep in mind that probably we're going to use them somewhere in the middle of the time, once we start modeling our car. Also, it is a very important thing to note here that with NURB surfaces, it is good, you know, to mix a lot of several different how can I say, different geometry in your single model. It's okay if in case, for example, you are creating a movie or something like that. But once you are creating a game, your final output has to be polygons, okay? Let me delete that. Let me show you something fun, so for you guys to play with, okay, while you are at home and bored and don't know what to do. I usually like to use the CV curve tool. This is just me. And as you can see here, I would like to place a point. Now if you hit backspace, you delete that point. If you hold down the X key, right now you are snapping that point to the grid. And if I drag this point all the way to the center, right now my point is for sure snapped to the grid. And I will snap even to the grid here, holding the X key again, U. This is another vertex. And I'll just go here and add one more here, add one more there. Now, by the way, I forgot to tell you why it is square and then U. I will show you in a second. Oh, this is one of the features as well of the polygons. I have to show you this one too. But I'll show you in a second once I'm finishing with that one. So I'm gonna, you know, like model something like that, having a curve. Now for the final one, I'm just gonna hit the X key to snap to a grid again. And once I'm done, okay, I'm gonna just hit W key or enter, doesn't matter. I'll just go control vertex and I'll just simply move it right now. So hit the X key and snap. And I'm gonna move this guy a little bit up, like so. Okay, right click and object mode. Now while your curve is selected like that, there's a very, very beautiful operation. It's called revolving, I believe. So if you go here into the polygons and you switch to surfaces, here in surfaces you have a function called revolve. Yes, right? I hope that I said it correct the first time. And let me hit the option box here for a second because some people sometimes don't notice some stuff. For now, I'm gonna ignore the cubic and linear parts and everything. I'm just gonna keep it that way. But just I want to show you something. If you choose the Y, that means that your object or that curve will revolve around and form a NURB surface around the Y axis. And let me show you what I'm talking about. If I hit apply, right now I have had a cup. And the coolest thing about it, if I go over here and try for a second to choose my curve. So in case you had a trouble like this, so you choose this one, hold on the shift key and click and drag. Right now I inverted my selection, so whatever is not selected is selected and whatever is selected, it is not selected right now. Right click and choose control vertex. And for the sake of it, let me just close this for now and let me hit the space key. So you can actually see what's going on with your curve in a second here. So if I grab these two, right now because I have the history is turned on, or I didn't delete my history, right now I can modify live my object. So I can just simply make it smaller, modify the thingies here. Okay, grab, make it thicker, make it bigger. You can, I mean, you guys have fun while you are at it, so make it like shorter, smaller. Make these guys even, take them, make it them bigger, whatever. So, or smaller. I mean, it's up to you. Right click and of course go to oh man, hang on a second. Alright, object mode. Okay. Now, please, please, please do not move your curve. Sometimes it happens, because your history is on, when you start moving your curve, weird things could happen. So please do not do that. Okay, so increasing and decreasing. So this is like moving your curve away from the center. Now, some people, let me just undo this. Some people, sometimes they are drawn the curve on the plane over here. So they drawn it from the top view. It is okay, but please, when you do revolving, please take care that while revolving you choose on which axis you are revolving to, because some people say, okay, I'm gonna draw the curve in that position, and they start drawing the curve on the top view, and then they choose, for example, the Y, and then, for example, they get some sort of an effect like this. You see? So you have to exactly know where and how you are actually revolving, like over which axes. This is one thing. Another thing, if I Control D for duplicate, so Control D and move this guy over here, click and shift click, you have something which is called lofting. Right now, I have stretched a curve, or defined a surface based on these two curves that stretch from one side to the other. Okay. Now this could be quite useful. Let me show what I'm talking about here. So let me select all these guys and delete. You have, I believe, in the curves. Let me try to see here if I have the circle. The problem is I cannot remember where it was. When you add, yeah, there you go. Exactly, that's what I needed. So let me go and detach this guy, tear this menu off. And I will go here and let it be in the front view. I'm going to create a circle. So right now I can create, holding the shift key, right now I can create a circle right now here. I will, okay, it's enough for me. Now I'm going to duplicate that, scale this circle down, duplicate that, move it away, scale it down, duplicate that, move it inward, scale it down, duplicate that again, Control D, move it there, scale it down. Okay, it's just an arbitrary object. Now with lofting, it is very important that you have to understand the order of your selection. So if I select this first, this second, and this afterward, then this, and then that, when I go for lofting, where are you? Loft. Right now I have got something goes like so, and inwards goes like here. You see? Right now this is more like a speaker, right? From the front, like a speaker which people usually hold. So this is this part, for example, for lofting. This right now you can guys have fun with it. So let me move that object. Of course, once I move the object, it's okay, but once I move the curves, right now we're gonna get into troubles. Okay, or not a trouble, it depends how you guys would like to have it. Well, okay, this is more like a wormhole right now, so you move it like so. It's like the wormhole in Stargate or Star Trek, whatever. So if I right click and Control Vertex, you can in fact start modifying that circle for any kind of purposes you want. Okay, so this is for lofting. Now there's one more thing I wanted to show you about polygons before I close up here, so delete everything, close that. You can in fact do weird extrusions, whatever you like. So let's have an example over here. So I'm gonna have a cube, shift right click, polycube, whoa, there one, and I have a cube right now in my scene. I will add one more thing, which is if I'm gonna create CV curve tool. Now I could right now start adding a curvature, something like so. Oops. By the way, if you made a mistake in your curve, just hit backspace. So once you hit backspace, it's like an undo. So you erase the last point. So let me do this in a very interesting, much more interesting way. I believe there are some lamps which had some sort of like this thing going on, right? So when I hit enter, control vertex, right now I can start controlling the vertices over here, like so, like so, like so. And I'm trying, I'm not paying attention very much to the detail here. Okay. It's not very roundish, kind of. So, there you go. I tried my best. Okay. Not a perfectionist, but I'm trying to try my best not to model anymore. Okay, I'm stopping. By the way, sometimes tweaking gets really, you know, you never know while you're tweaking, it never ends, the tweaking part. So this is one thing you have to understand about modeling, which for me could be interesting. For other people it could be like, how can I say this, hell. Let me put this down. Now there's a very important thing about when you extrude according to a curve. You see this? This is a square, this is a U, and then follows up by a vertex. That means that the curve direction goes like so. If you had the U and the square and then the vertex, then you have to know that it is, yes, your curve is inverted, or you started from here and you ended up there. I believe there was a tool called reverse curve. So once you say reverse curve, right now the curve starts from here. That in case that you made a mistake. But since I didn't make a mistake, I'll just simply select the curve, shift right click, and choose reverse curve. Right now, when I say control vertex, as you can see here, my curve starts correctly. So always position your face, which you're gonna extrude, in front of that curve, at the end, at the beginning of the curve, if you will. And I will show you why in a second. So let me first scale this guy down a little bit, like so. Maybe flatten it out. Scale it in. And I'm gonna scale this down as well, like so. I mean, it doesn't matter how it's up and down, but the main thing I would like to scale it a little bit like so. And I will try to, you know, just try to make it in front of the face and just have the direction of the curve. So you see, so you know, try to imagine how the face will just jump and goes along the curve. So that's why, you know, try to rotate the object a little bit, or the face, just to face that thing correctly. Right click on the polygonal object, choose face. So I choose the face. Shift and left mouse button click on the curve, so you have both your face and the curve selected. Shift right click and extrude face. As you can see here, by default, my face jumped from the start of the curve to the end of the curve. Now if you look over here carefully, I have got the history of the extrusion. And here I have something which is called divisions. Now I can actually increase the divisions like so. Now of course 25 divisions were not enough with a middle mouse drag. I'll just simply start punching here the numbers. Let's say 30 or probably 100. Right now of course I've got it much more perfect. Okay, so this in case that you would like to have some sort of a free form kind of an object that you cannot actually, it's quite exhausting to generate by your hands. This is another way, or a better way, of generating it using, you know, using curves and extrude over a curve. Now of course you have other options like twisting, like so. So let me put this to 0. Tapering, like so. So it's thicker at the beginning and thinner at the end. So you can have a control over these. Just make sure that your objects doesn't, like, you know, doesn't squash till the end to a certain point, because it looks bad. So try to make it like a little bit thicker, not the taper to close to 0, but oops. Oops, let me try to increase it a little bit. So there we go. Something like 0.2, it's fine. Right click, go to object mode, 2, 3, there you go. Okay. For people who are following along, not watching, did you miss any point? Do you have any questions? Anyone? Okay. Where have you lost me? Have somebody following along with me right now live? If somebody lost, please tell me. If not, then I will just simply wrap up, because this is probably the end today. Oh yeah, one more thing before I forget. Okay, there's a help in Maya. All right, this is great. By the way, there's a very important thing you have to understand, is that while the history is on, you can in fact start modifying how the curve looks like. Okay, so this is one more thing, one more nice feature you have. So it's like so. So if I would like to have the curve goes in a certain direction, like so, selecting this one again, like so, like so. Yes, in fact, once you select your object, but after you are done, of course, once you are done and you're 100% sure that you don't need the curve anymore, okay, because of course moving that curve will be very interesting. So once you are 100% sure that you are done, because there's no way unless you undo so many times, you go to edit, delete by type and history, and once you do that, the curve is not needed anymore. You can keep it for future if you like to, if you are sure you're going to use it again, but basically you just simply delete it and you get your object right there without any problems. But of course right now you have, once you try to modify the object, right now you have to modify it in terms of vertices, so you're going to have to start modifying it in that way. Okay, let me press 1 and show you what I'm talking about. So basically something like that. So it's going to be not that very smooth anymore. So you have to make sure that you are really done with editing. Okay. So this is really cool thing made just out of polygons, which is quite amazing. Are there any questions? I know that for people who are just watching and enjoying themselves, I know that you guys would like to. It's cool by me. I don't have a problem with that. But once you are working with Maya, if you have any questions, if you are stuck somewhere, of course you have to. Of course you have to. Yeah, I mean, either rewatch the video or just simply send, or just simply post your question over the forum, and I will answer it for you. I will answer all the other questions which are not, connected with that class. So just, in order to wrap up the recording for people who are gonna watch this video, is there any kind of specific questions other than the other classes and future stuff related, to graphics? Any questions? No? Okay, great. Now I will wrap up this session, and we'll see you guys in the next upcoming sessions. So see you guys.